day one. This name. So this is our day one of Terraform training. Okay. So first file I am just going to create will be vpc.tf. Okay. So in today's session, we will try to create a VPC. We will try to create EC2 instance, one elastic IP. Okay. And whatever while creating VPC, what all resources needs to be created, so that we will be looking into. Okay. Agenda is clear, right?
Yes, Gaurav.
Okay. So fine. So now we will understand first what are the fundamental blocks in Terraform. With this project, we will do this project, and side by side, we will understand the concepts in Terraform as well. Okay. So if you will do control space, you can see that some data, locals, module, output, provider, resource, Terraform variable. So this Terraform variable, resource, provider, output, okay, then data. These are the top level blocks. Top level blocks means main blocks where you will start your configuration. Okay. So first block which we use is, can anybody tell me which block we use?
Terraform.
Yeah. So this is our Terraform block. This is also called as Terraform setting block. So this block, what it takes, what all arguments it takes, and what is the behavior, so that we will be seeing. So again, I am doing control space.
Gaurav, sorry to interrupt. When you say block, what exactly you are referring to in terms of Terraform?
Simply block. This is Terraform block. In this, we have some statements, some arguments, right?
Okay.
So this is one block. That's it. Okay. Simple. Yeah. So now we will be doing, there is one argument required version. So that we generally do not use. Okay. Because it will always take whatever is the Terraform version you have in your system. Okay. Terraform version. Okay. So I have version 1.1.5. It will be definitely taking it. Okay. So suppose if you are giving something other than that, suppose we have 0.12 version of Terraform we are taking. So your this Terraform file will not, like if you will do Terraform init, it will give you error. Why? Unsupported code, Terraform code version. So always you have to put it here like 1.1.5. Okay. So that's why it is not a mandatory field to pass, because whatever is the default Terraform version available in your system, that it will take. Okay. So this is one argument which is required version. It is not mandatory. You can pass it. It is an optional thing. And you can skip this. You cannot even pass. That's not a problem. Okay. So this is required version. If I am giving 1.1.5, because that is installed on my system, so that only will work. Okay. So again, if I am doing Terraform init, so it will go ahead and initialize. Okay. So that is something about the required version. So it is not the required argument, but an option. You can give it or not. That's not a problem. Next thing, required providers. So we have seen it many a times, required providers block. Okay. So this required providers in this block, this is what you can say that it is a kind of nested block. Okay. This is a top level block, and it is a required provider is a nested block within the Terraform block, because it is starting with curly braces, closing with curly braces, and it will have some arguments. Okay. So this is another block, but it is inside this top level block. So it is called as nested block. Okay. So required providers, what we can pass. So let me open my Chrome browser and going to registry.terraform.io. So this registry, Terraform registry, maintains providers and modules. So modules we will come later when we will study modules. But now we are learning with providers, dealing with providers. So I am clicking on this providers, and we are actually looking into AWS. So we will click on this. And then use provider. Okay. So use provider. So this is required providers block, where you can provide the details of a provider which you want to use, like you want to work with. Okay. So suppose if we want to work with AWS, so we will select this name. Name is the argument and having value. Source you can take. The source will be what? In our case, as we are dealing with AWS, so what is maintaining this AWS? So this HashiCorp AWS provider. Okay. So we will be putting this HashiCorp AWS. HashiCorp AWS. Okay. And name you can give anything. It is a local name. Okay. So for readability, we can take it as AWS, but anything you can choose of your choice. Okay. Another thing is version. So version is also important, like which provider version you want to use for your configuration. So different versions of AWS is available: 3.7.0, 3.7.3, and so on, right? Many versions are there. Okay. So you can explicitly mention the version here. Like I want to work with the latest version, then latest version is 3.74.0. So that I can provide. Okay. So passing the versions. So that is also an important concept. So that you can understand through this version constraint in Terraform. So in how many ways you can pass your version constraint? So suppose if you want to get a version which is greater than or equals to 1.2.0 and less than 2.00, so that you can represent in this way. Okay. So there are different operators are available. If you want to get exact version number, then you can go with equals to, like here in this case we have used. Okay. So this is mainly in real time people are using equals to, and second one is this one. Okay. But other you can play with for understanding, that's not a problem. Okay. And not equals to means any version except this version. Okay. So if you are giving not equals to sign here, so that means you want to, so that these operators will work here also. Okay. For each wherever you are using version, there it can work. But this is something we do not normally deal with, so that's why I am showing you here. Okay. But not equal to, nobody is using greater than, equal to, less than, equals to. So these all are available. You can understand this, you can use this with the comparison operator, you can say. But normally in real time, it is not like, I have never seen using it, but you can play with this through the, like if you are setting up some configuration file you are writing, you can check all these. Equals to is very much used, and another one is this rightmost version. Okay. So another way of dealing with this is this symbol. So this symbol you can pass. That you can pass in this. So rightmost means what is rightmost in this case is 0. So 3.74 will remain constant, and if there is changes, this rightmost only will get changed, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If you are giving this much, so it will be changing into 74, 75, 76. Okay. So if you are putting till 3 point, okay, so in that case these will be remain constant. Like if there is a new version coming 3.75.1, so it will not go till that. Okay, it will go till 3.74 dot whatever is the in this rightmost digit, whatever is the value. Okay, till that this version will be taken. Okay, is it clear?
Yeah, Gaurav, this is very.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the tilde symbol you are mentioning. It is mandatory. This one
For this type of constraint,
yeah,
taking rightmost.
yeah.
For rightmost, yes, it is mandatory.
Okay.
If you want to take like rightmost value you want to change, then it is mandatory. Okay, if you are simply giving greater than, this means it will install any version which is greater than this, right? But if you are giving
After
3.74,
after 3.74, it will install if it's are giving. Yeah. Okay.
But you are giving this tilde, that means these two will remain constant, and whatever changes in the rightmost value, that will be taken. Okay.
In the zeros, yeah. In the zeros, yes.
It can be 0 to infinity, whatever value that will,
Yes, whatever it value. Yeah, I understood. 1,
but
2,
7.4
like
will remain constant. Yeah. Fine.
3.74 will count. Yes.
Yes.
Gaurav, how you're getting that terminal below the below this?
You can do Control Shift and then the tilde. Okay. Simultaneously press Control Shift and this tilde one. Okay. Clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now do. So version is done. What all in this particular thing? There is nothing else, right? Only source and version, 2 arguments.
Gaurav, one question.
Yes.
See, now that we can change version for Terraform and the service provider as well. Okay. So in case
I'm not changing version for Terraform. Where am I changing?
No, can we see? Suppose like we were using say 1.1.4. Now 1.1.5 is released. So if there is a change, how do we handle with that cases? Like so.
So you will install the latest version of Terraform, and if you are using this required version thing in your configuration, so there you will have to make change, right? So if you are not having required version, then by default, whatever version available on your system, that it will take.
Yeah. Another thing I had, can you just go to that browser for provider? I just saw not this provider. Yeah. If you just scroll down. Yeah. No, that's okay. Just hop. Yeah. See, you see Terraform block there, and right below that you see required providers. And then you give AWS and the source of the AWS plugins and the version. What is that below that? There is a provider AWS again.
This is provider block, na? Where if you remember from previous class, where I configure region and profile and all.
Okay, the first block will give you is only used to mention which service provider we are using and what is the plugin we are using and what is the version. In the second block, provider block, we are basically mentioning what the zone
availability, like which region you are trying to work with and with which profile authentication, whatever authentication.
Okay, like your client ID and the secret key. Okay, got it.
I'm coming to this provider block also. First, understand this Terraform block in detail. Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
So this is required providers. So I have configured one provider. You can configure multiple providers. Like if you want to configure for Azure, so another provider you can configure it. Okay. For AWS also, if you want to configure multiple provider, like if you will frequently changing the versions, so in that case, but that is not like people are normally using. But you can have Azure, or there are some providers like null provisioner, random, these kind of things in Terraform. Okay, so those also you can put in under the required providers. So what does I exactly mean is you can configure multiple providers in this required providers block. Okay, so you can configure providers for Azure RM as well. Okay, Azure RM, GCP, Alibaba, whatever you want, you can configure it. Fine.
And how often the Terraform version changes, Gaurav?
How often?
Like
1 month, 2 months. Yeah.
Okay, in that case, like what we did with the provider version, so we put some argument, right? Like greater than and all that. Can't we put the same thing to the Terraform version?
Sorry, I didn't get your point.
So in the provider version, we gave some argument right before the version, like tilde and the greater than symbol.
This one?
Yeah, that one. In the same way, can't we apply the same to the Terraform version just to?
Yes, why not? I told you, no, version constraint you can use here,
Mhm.
this operator as well here also. That's not a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
Mm. That's not a problem.
Gaurav Banu here.
Yes.
See, when we are mentioning this multiple providers while running, so how it will identify or define which provider it's running? So we will mention something like provider name also while running.
Obviously.
Okay.
So we have provider block, right?
Yeah.
So there we will configure everything like what region we want to work, what is the authentication mechanism we are working with, right? So that all, and in provider block, you can define aliases. Coming to that point, do not jump over, man.
Okay.
Understand this concept, which is right now in front of you. Okay. That will be good for you and me as well. So that is something which is taken care by provider block. Do not worry about that. I am coming to that. Okay. Fine. So yeah, what I was discussing. So in this way, you can have multiple providers. You can configure. Okay. Next thing is, so this is done. Required providers is done. Now, what other thing is provider meta? So this is something we do not have to worry about. It is like for developers who develop like module development and all. It is super advanced concept in Terraform. So without this, you can work with Terraform. You can provision your infrastructure. It is for module development. So this is nothing to do with us. I have also not used anywhere, and in document also I can show you. Provider meta in Terraform setting block. Provider metadata. So you can see that advanced topic. This page covers technical details of Terraform. You don't need to understand these details to effectively use Terraform. The details are documented here for module authors and provider developers working on advanced functionality. Okay. So this is something you do not have to worry about. Okay. So this is, and apart from this, there is an experimental feature also. So that also we do not have to worry about for working with Terraform. Okay. Fine. Another thing which you can see here is backend. Okay. So backend is what? So Artifactory like S3, or in case of Azure, you can say Azure RM, /etc, GCS. These all you can store your state file into that. Okay. So remote storage of your state file, for that purpose, we configure the backend. So don't worry about what is a state file. We will learn it in our course. We will do some projects on that as well. But right now, just understand this big backend you can also configure in this Terraform block, where you can mention what kind of Artifactory you are using to store your state file. A state file is nothing but a database which stores whatever infrastructure you create with your Terraform configuration files, that detail. Like if you are creating EC2 instance, so every information related to that EC2 instance, Terraform store it into a file that is called as state file. Okay. So why do we create backend? Why do not keep it in our local system? That all we will be seeing. Don't worry throughout our course. Okay. For now, just understand, as we are understanding this Terraform block. So understand this. Here you can configure backend as well to store your state file remotely. So that you can do in this backend section. So this is all about Terraform block, what all you can do. Okay. Now just leave it here as it is. Okay. But you can pass your key name, file name, bucket name, all these things like bucket. Okay. Let me put some random understanding. Later I will comment it. Okay. So bucket name where you want to store, then the key name. And then one more thing is important, region. Okay. In which region? And then another one thing is also there, which is DynamoDB table. Okay, so for locking of a state file, that we will discuss. Okay, what is locking of a state file, why it is required, and all those stuff. Okay, so any doubt from this Terraform block? Hmm?
Please explain bucket.
As I told you, it is used for
No, not
storing
backend.
the state file.
Okay, you've written a few more arguments below it, like bucket and everything. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is S3. Like suppose you are using S3 as a backend where you are storing your state file. So you will have to give information, right? Like what is the bucket name? So that you will pass. What is the key? Key means what in S3? That is folder or file name. Okay. Then the region, in which region this S3 bucket is created. And then for locking, we use DynamoDB table. So this is advanced concept which we will run when we will discuss about a state file. Okay. I just wanted to show you that in Terraform block, what all arguments you can pass. Okay. So understand it in this way, like backend you can configure in Terraform block. We will understand it in great detail in the like particular section where we will be discussing about a state file. Okay. So now just understand this, we can configure backend in Terraform block apart from required providers. Okay, that's it. Fine. So let me put it into Slack group. Fine. So for now, as we are going to create VPC, so let me remove this part. Okay. So Terraform is done. Required provider, I am working with AWS only. This one, our version is done. Okay. Now after Terraform block, what block will come?
Provider.
Yes. So provider. So provider block, as we have given here name AWS. So here we will be using AWS. Okay. Same name as it is. Now we will be passing something. Okay. So there are multiple things like assume role is there, default tags is there, endpoints is there, ignore tags and all those things. But we are interested in profile region. Okay. Assume role is also a kind of authentication. Like if you are aware of AWS, you must be knowing that we can assume role on another behalf for a particular service or a particular account, and we can work with a particular session time, right? So for that purpose, using that assume role also you can authenticate. Okay. So I will have a project for assume role also. Okay. So that we will be seeing in that particular session. Okay. Now coming to profile. So if you can see here, AWS configure, sorry, cat AWS credentials. So there are two profiles configured. One is developer and another one is default. So if you are not providing here profile, so it will take default profile only. Okay. Or you can mention also default. But if you want to use other profile, like suppose I have a developer profile and that I want to use, then we will have to explicitly mention here. Okay. So so in case of default, if you are putting it, if you are not putting it, both are good. Then another thing is reason. Reason, suppose AP South. Okay, so that you can put. Now another thing is alias. Okay, so now we are coming to the concept which somebody asked me. Who was that? Who asked me, like, if we have multiple providers, how can we configure that?
Yes, Garu, Banu here.
Yes, Banu. So suppose this is my AWS, okay, and I have to launch something, some services in Mumbai region, which is AP South one. And similarly, I have to launch some services in Sydney region as well, right? So here we can have only one region block. Okay, so suppose I am taking another region block, so it will give you error. Okay, suppose here only if I am mentioning two different, suppose Sydney is in which AP South is 2, right? AP South is 2. So this you can say it is, you can say the curly line. The argument region was already set at VPC TF 13329. Okay. So each argument may be set only once. Okay. So as per HCL language, HCL configured language, you cannot have multiple region in one provider. But my requirement is, understand this very clearly. It is very important concept, which we will be dealing with regularly in our real time. Okay. So this is our AWS. We have configured one provider to work with Mumbai region, but our requirement is to work with another region as well. Suppose I have to work with Sydney region. Okay. So in that case, I will have to create another provider. Okay. So how can we create provider of what? Same AWS, because we will be using same AWS version. So that's why. And profile whatever you want, default profile if you want to take, so default you can take. Okay. And then region, suppose I want to work with AP Southeast 2. Okay. So here you will have to pass one more argument, which is called as alias. Okay. And you will give some name. So this provider, you are giving some alias name. Suppose I want to give it as dev. Okay. So this is the aliasing which will be required to work with not even the multiple accounts regions, but also you can work with multiple accounts as well. Okay. Suppose you have this default for one AWS account, and you have another AWS account for which you have this, suppose this developer credential stored here is for another AWS account. So you can provide in profile developer region this and then the alias. Similarly, if you want to use provider for Azure RM, okay. So Azure RM, suppose if you are like you have configured here required providers for Azure RM and want to work with Azure RM. So here you can pass alias as well. Some name, like some alias name is your or something, right? Is it clear, Vanu?
Yes, Gaurav. Thank you.
Okay. So this is how you can write your provider blocks to work with different, in different region with different providers and if in different accounts as well. Okay. So can anyone ready to share your credentials with me, access key and secret token?
Got one question. Like if we are creating two providers, in the second one we have put alias. So what is that significantly changing there? It's just tagging that particular infrastructure or anything we are trying to deploy in that particular region. Will it be tagged as dev?
See, no, that is not. See what happens. Okay. Suppose I have given alias here. Okay. So I want to, in my AWS account, I want to create two EC2 instances. Suppose. Okay, for now. One in Mumbai region, one in Sydney region. We cannot have multiple regions in one provider. We will definitely have to create another provider. Okay. So if you are writing simply provider, if you are not giving alias or something here, it will fail. Okay. Because same type of provider cannot be configured multiple times. So it becomes mandatory to provide alias. Okay. Now, once you have given alias and you want to create, suppose I want to create a EC2 instance in the Mumbai region and S3 bucket in this particular Sydney region. Okay. So how will you writing? Actually, I was coming to this point, but as your interest more in this, so I am coming first to this point.
No. If it is missing the sequence, probably we'll take it when it comes. You can go with it. I'm just trying to.
Okay, no, understand here only. Okay. You can go. Okay, so suppose I want to create in AP South 1 region this resource AWS instance. So we will provide AMI. Okay, I'm not going into putting the data here. AMI you will put, instance type you will put, and whatever data you want. Now I want to create S3 bucket in this particular Sydney region. Okay. So by default, what provider it will take? This provider configuration it will take. So how will we provide this particular resource S3 to be created in Sydney region. So see that. Okay. So resource, suppose I want to create AWS S3 bucket. Okay. And I want to give it a name. Sydney S3. Okay. So here, there is bucket. Bucket. Okay. So you provided some bucket name. Okay. Then what you will provide? Let me go to this AWS S3 bucket. Terraform. So what all it needs? So first thing it needs bucket ACL. Okay, that's it. That is more than sufficient. Okay. So some ACL you have provided. I'm just giving you example. And now what you will have to pass? Here you will have to pass this provider. Okay. So here this provider, what you will do? AWS.dev. Okay. So when you will put this provider AWS.dev, like this is the name AWS and then the alias name. So with this, it will understand that this S3 bucket needs to be created in Sydney region. Okay, it will not create in Mumbai region. But if you are not providing this provider, then it will go and create in default region, which is AP South. Okay. Is it clear?
Yeah. So is dev is that keyword a default keyword, or is that anything we can give for alias?
You can give anything of your choice, no?
Just to understand that, like if
What
that
is alias? What is alias in real time? Any name, right?
yeah.
So similarly, you can give it here. I have given dev. You can give here Arvind, no problem.
Okay.
And you will.
No, something related to that particular resource, we can say that, like
Yeah, that should
bucket.
be meaningful in real time, right?
Correct. Yeah.
For readability, better readability of your program. If somebody is seeing your configuration by looking at something, he understands what you want to actually do here. So that's what we say readability. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can call it in this way. Okay. AWS and then the alias name.
Okay.
Fine. So the provider is AWS. So this local name AWS here coming, and it has Arvind. So .Arvind. Fine. So this way it will create this S3 bucket in this Sydney region. Okay. Is Bhanu clear to you? Others, is it clear to you guys?
Yes, Gaurav. Thank you.
Yes, Gaurav. Yeah.
Hi, Gaurav.
Yes.
We can provide both the provider na alias section. Is it any issue? Default section AP South one, we can also provide alias, na?
Yes, you
Okay.
have multiple. You can
Okay. In that time,
not
we
a
need to provide the EC2 section, right? Provide. Okay. Understand.
So provider is nothing but a meta argument. It is called as. Okay.
Given this situation, we can understand that we can provision any resources in any region, provided we put them, we add meaningful aliases. Okay.
Not even in multiple region. You can create in multiple accounts as well. Suppose you have configured credential for, suppose like in this, let me give you an example. So I have configured already AWS configure. Through AWS configure, I configured previously one credential, right? Access key and secret key. We can configure multiple. Like suppose you have multiple AWS accounts. So for that, you can just give the -- profile and some name, whatever you want, and you can configure, and that many will be created, stored in this.
So, normally it is like AWS configure by default when we try it for the first time. So when we are trying to set up a profile like developer or like like somebody other thing, so what is the syntax? It's -- profile and the name, is it?
Exactly. So in that case, if you want to create a profile for another account, right? In another account, you created some IAM user, and for that user, you create store the credential here. So if you are here instead of profile default, you are passing developer, and this developer is from different account. So in that account, you can create, right?
Okay.
In this way, you can create in multiple accounts as well, right?
Okay. Okay.
So anyone here ready to volunteer to share his access key and secret key, then I can show you here only if you find it. Okay. Anyone would like to, like, I do not have multiple AWS accounts, so that's why I'm asking. If you have one and you are willing to share your access key and secret key for a user. Okay. Else, if it is clear, then it is good. You can go ahead.
You required key? I'll share.
Okay.
In chat.
Okay. So what I am doing, I will create a third user. Okay. Third profile. I have two profile, default and developer. AWS configure profile equals to, suppose what's your name? On your name only I will be creating.
Sam.
Yes. Okay. So whatever access key ID you provided, this is an IAM user, right? Or root users you provided.
Yes, root user. No, not
don't share root users.
No, this router have admin to no issue.
Okay. So if you can see that, you can see that third user I have created, 𝐤𝐤, right? 𝐤𝐤 user. So this is the command. If you want, I can give you in chat. You can create multiple profile, configure multiple. So I have configured his profile with name 𝐤𝐤. So this is good. I am taking profile as 𝐤𝐤. So 𝐤𝐤 in Sydney region, in few minutes, try to see if our instance get created. Okay. So provider AWS, and I have given Arvind name. Okay. Let me log in into my AWS console. Okay. So in my account, I will be creating an instance in Mumbai region, and in 𝐤𝐤's account, I will create in Sydney region. Alias I have given Arvind. Okay, let me give 𝐤𝐤 only. Okay. EC2. Okay, so let me stop. Okay, so I will be creating an instance. AMI, let me take. Right now we are hard coding AMI, but do not worry. We have variables. We will be coming to that part of this course, and where we will understand how can we use variables. Then data source is also there. Okay, so that all we will be seeing. Don't worry. And in 𝐤𝐤's, what I will do, I will create instance only. Okay, or S3 bucket if you want. I can create that. Okay, we have written already, so we will create bucket only. So bucket name, instead of bucket, because with bucket what happens many a times, as it is a global resource, so it is possible that we will get error like this already present a particular bucket. So I am using bucket prefix, because what happens if you are giving bucket prefix, then it will give some random, it will add some random digits in the end, so that it makes it unique. Okay, so 𝐤𝐤's bucket I am giving it a name, and some random will be, it will be suffixed with. Okay, ACL we can pass. So we all are following documentation. Okay, it is, you will have to follow it. Okay, so ACL private can be passed. So I am passing it private. Fine. AWS Syam. Fine. Let's create it. Syam, do you have, are you logged in into your console?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you can, what you can do, you can go to your S3. Okay. And there we will be seeing. So first thing what we need to do, initialize, right? Because what will happen after initialization, whatever is the required provider in the back end, it will go to this location. What I mean, this location means registry.terraform.io. It will go to this location, AWS, /corp AWS. Let me remove all this. It will go to this location, then this, and it will install it. Okay. So this is what it actually does in the backend. It is install this particular provider. Okay. And why this provider is required? So this provider is a plugin which actually makes API call to AWS infrastructure, AWS account, and it creates the resources. So that is very much important. So now it is initializing the backend. Actually, we wanted version constraint what 3.74.0, right? So rightmost, so 0. So latest version is what? 3.74.0. If it was 1, then 1 would be installed. So now in this case, it is only 1 available, 3.74.0. So that's why it is installing this one. So it will take some time because it is installing that provider plugin for you. I can show you the location here once it is downloaded. Okay. So cd.terraform ls inside providers ls registry.terraform.io. Is it the same location, right? So from same structure would be here also. Inside this it will have providers. Okay. Then /corp AWS and 3.7.0 7.4.0 Windows AMD, because we are working on Windows. So this is the main executable. Okay, Terraform provider AWS executable, which actually doing the thing. Okay, so this is one which is actually doing the thing. Fine. So Terraform init is done. What next we will be doing?
Plan, Terraform plan.
Yes. So before that, we can also do one thing, Terraform validate. Okay, so our configuration is valid. Before going to create this resource, I would like to discuss about this file, terraform.lock.hcl. So this file is maintained automatically. Okay, so whenever you are doing Terraform init, this particular file will also get created. What actually this file do? It stores the version, whatever version you are using, constraints which we passed, okay, constraint, and some hashes for checksum. Okay, checksum means like right now I am working on Windows. If I am using on Linux system, Linux platform, or any other platform, so with this checksum, it will match the version of Terraform. Okay, so this 3.74.0, so this is locked now. If you will change here manually from this 3.7.4.0 to some other version, your Terraform like configuration will again fail. Okay, so this lock file is important because it makes it like clear that you have to use this particular version only. Okay, so it maintains the version. Okay, so why do we need to maintain the same version? Because in different versions there is some changes or upgrade or downgrade happens, right? So if like I am working on this Terraform configuration, I posted into Git repo. Another day some other person cloned it, right? and started working on it with some other version of AWS. Okay. So in that case, what happened? Whatever you have written configuration is based on this particular 3.74.0 version standard. On that standard you have written. And if he is using suppose 2.17 point something, so configuration syntax are like in 3.74 or some versions before that, it is nearly same, but from 2 point something, there is big difference. So if he is trying to use that particular AWS provider version to work with your configuration, then it will error out. Okay, because that is syntactically something here and there, the difference will be. So to maintain that particular version, this log file is available, which will make sure that the same version is being used by another person as well. Okay, is it clear, guys? So it simply stores the information about your version and hashes. Fine. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming to next point. So Terraform validate is done. We will now do Terraform plan. Okay. No configuration files. Okay, sorry, my bad. ls, where we are cd Terraform day 1. Now we will be doing Terraform. You can see that there is a state file is getting created. So is it temporary? You can see that it is now gone because you have just planned, you have not applied it. Once you will apply, there will be a state file available. Okay. So now what we will do, plan is done. I actually want to apply it. So how can we do? Terraform apply. And if you remember from previous session, we would get a prompt, yes or no, right? Right. So if we do not want that, you can simply put here auto up. Okay. So it will not ask you for yes and no. And here in the left side also try to see what all changes is happening. You can see that there is a Terraform TF state file. Okay, so instance web is creating, AWS is 3 buckets, Sydney is 3 creating. So Sam, are you in your console?
Yes, yes, created.
Created, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
we can manage different accounts as well. Okay, so it is very important concept. Yeah, so you can see that everyone, you can see that Sam's bucket dot created with some suffix. Okay, so random number is provided. So that's the importance of taking bucket prefix instead of bucket. So if you are taking bucket and giving the name Sam's bucket, so if globally there is no Sam's bucket, it will create the bucket with that name. But if already available for any other account globally, then it will error out that this is already available, so we cannot create it. Okay, so it's better way to go with some bucket prefix. Okay, so that's why I take it. Fine. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
So today we understood Terraform block. We understood what is provider. We can do aliasing, and with the help of aliasing, how can we create resources in different regions and different accounts as well. Okay, so we have understood very important concepts today. I was not able to create VPC because time was like occupied in these only. So we will take that in another session. Okay, so now we have good understanding of Terraform and provider block and somewhat resource block as well. Okay, any question, any doubt from this? Anyone who is not able to understand? Okay, fine. So this is it for today. We will meet tomorrow. Okay, with the next concept. Okay.
Hi, Gaurav. This is Krishna.
Hi,
I
Chris.
have one question. So using the Terraform, we can able to provision the server with the Terraform. So my requirement is I have already the server available. So I want to deploy the middleware components using the Terraform. Is it possible, or
Yes, yes, yes.
along with the server provisioning? So I need to incorporate that middleware components source code and to deploy the required components.
So what you can do, whatever you have which is manually created, that you can import into your Terraform. Okay. And then middleware and all you can create using the Terraform configuration file.
Okay.
What
Actually, in my environment, we have the private cloud, so we can provision the server using the cloud environment. And once the server is readily available with all the required storage, the required IPs and the security policies, everything will be readily available. Just I can log in and do the whatever the middleware components need to implement. Manual I can do, but instead of the manual, so shall I implement those middleware components through Terraform after
yes,
server build? But is there any complications, or is there any challenges while doing, or it is a straightforward?
So what do you mean by middleware actually? That's
Middleware like a JDK, Tomcat server, and those kind of products.
okay.
And
So
if I want to change the configurations, I can change in one shot in all the servers. So that way, can I use that Terraform code?
No. So for that, if you want to configure something, as I understood you clearly, that you have servers already running, but on that you want to install some applications like Tomcat, Java, and all, right? That's what you mean.
Yeah,
So for that purpose, Terraform is not a perfect tool. Okay. You can go with Ansible, Salt, Chef, Puppet. These are configuration management tool available in the market. So that you can go with. Okay, Terraform is mainly for cloud provisioning. You can create your infrastructure. Okay, but if you want to create the instance and same time you want to configure it as well, so there is a possibility that you can configure your, like you can integrate your configuration management tool like Ansible with Terraform. Okay, so your everything will be automated from instance creation to the configuration. Everything will be automated.
Oh,
Okay.
if it is one shot only, so it is possible.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
got it. Thank you.
But you will have to use one tool, one another tool with Terraform. Okay. So you will have to use the configuration management.
Okay, thank you.